Hello, I'm Jerry Black from Colorado State University. My current position is Wagon Hound Land and Livestock Chair in Equine Science, and I've been asked to speak to you today on current trends in the U.S. horse industry. I've also been asked to give my credentials. As I said, my current position here is Director of Equine Sciences and the Equine Reproduction Lab at Colorado State University. Currently, I'm the Vice Chairman of the Board of Trustees of the American Horse Council, Chairman of the American Horse Council Animal Welfare Committee, Chairman of the Medication Review Committee for the National Cutting Horse Association, which oversees the medication policy for that organization. I'm a member of the Animal Welfare Commission for the American Quarter Horse Association. I'm also a member and past chairman of the Welfare and Public Policy Advisory Council of AAEP, or the American Association of Equine Practitioners. I want to talk a little bit about the history of the horse in society. Horses have been domesticated for thousands of years, basically served as a utilitarian service, aiding human advancement, transportation, agriculture, warfare, and actually a food source for many centuries. Today, most horses serve a more recreational purpose. Benefits to participants include physical and mental health, social opportunities, animal companionship, as we all know, and potential for competitive application. I want to visit a little bit about the diversity of the horse industry and some horse owner demographics that were put together in 2014. We understand that about 85% of the horse-owning public in the United States are considered recreational riders. 30%, and some go both ways, participate in competitive events. 11% of those in the horse industry breed horses. 10% manage some form of a horse facility, which would include breeding farms, training operations, instructional operations, etc. 9% work as groom or exercise employees for these horse facilities. 7% are professional trainers, and approximately 2% of the horse industry in the United States own racehorses. We estimate that there are about 1.8 to 2 million horse owners currently in the United States. And if you looked at the most typical demographic of that group, it would be a lady that was age 45 or above, a household income of around $50,000, would be employed full-time and married. This is a demographic in my 40 years of private practice in California that was a very, very common good client of ours in our equine practice. Horse industry economic impact. These are numbers that were put together in 2005 by the American Horse Council when they did an industry-wide evaluation. And that is actually the last big economic study that was done on the horse industry. But at that time, the horse industry provided indirectly to the U.S. economy about $102 billion. That does include all vendors and all service providers for the horse industry, and examples of that would be feed suppliers, pharmaceutical companies, tack and equipment companies, farriers, veterinarians, vehicle and trailer companies, barn manufacturers, industry organizations, etc. The direct economic impact to the U.S. economy from the horse industry is $39 billion. This includes those working directly in the horse industry, trainers, stable managers, instructors, grooms, etc. Those folks make up about 1.4 million full-time jobs. And then, of course, the property owners, the ranches, racing organizations, racing farms, other competitions and competitors, as well as equine auctions would make up that direct economic impact group. About $1.9 billion are paid in taxes to all levels of government, from registration of vehicles to state and federal taxes as well. Let's talk a bit about equine industry spectator events. The most popular general public events, and by that I mean events where the public would come to them that are not necessarily horse owners or people that are directly interested in riding horses. The number one spectator sport, if you will, is racing. There's 152 pari-mutuel racetracks in the United States. And of course, the big one in terms of spectator events is the Triple Crown events. It's the most widely viewed and attended equestrian activity in the U.S. Recently, the 2015 Kentucky Derby was run with 167,000 in attendance at Churchill Downs in Louisville, Kentucky, and of course, millions watching on television and other media sources. Rodeo events are the second most popular general spectator events in the United States. There's over 600 events annually here, and some of them draw very, very large crowds over periods of time as long as 2 weeks or so. And then lastly, of course, we have the Olympic Equestrian and World Equestrian Game events. These are international events, and the last one held in the United States was the 2010 World Equestrian Games held at the Horse Park in Lexington, Kentucky. Equine industry organizations, they're very, very varied, and a lot of them. Some that we would recognize immediately are breed organizations such as the American Quarter Horse Association, the Jockey Club, Arabian Horse Association, and many more. As a matter of fact, with breed organizations and the corresponding performance horse organizations, the American Horse Council recognizes 70 organizations that are affiliated with them here in the United States. Speaking of performance horse organizations, the ones, there are many, some you would recognize as U.S. Dressage Federation, National Reining Horse Association, U.S. Team Roping and Championships, and on and on. There are also professional horsemen's organizations. Certified Horsemanship Association certifies riding instructors at various levels, assuring the public that they have instruction from a person that's knowledgeable in the horse industry and also will be safe when teaching horsemanship skills. Another professional horse organization, of course, is the Professional Rodeo Cowboys Association, which all members of that are competing, of that organization, I should say, that are competing, are professionals in the industry. Also considered equine industry organizations are affiliated professional organizations, such as the American Association of Equine Practitioners. These are veterinarians that are practicing their veterinary skills on horses, and to date there are about 20,000 members of the American Association of Equine Practitioners. Another perfect example of this would be American Farriers Association. Some of the other organizations would include PATH International, which is an organization for therapeutic horsemanship, and American Hippotherapy Association, which is an organization of professionals using the horse for therapy, either in physical therapy, occupational therapy, speech therapy, or psychotherapy. I wanted to visit a little bit about American Horse Council. American Horse Council represents all segments of the horse industry. It promotes and protects all disciplines of the industry by communicating with Congress, with all the federal agencies, including USDA and USDA APHIS, communicates with the media, with press releases that have to do with the equine industry, and communicates and connects all of the horse industry itself. Two of its more signature programs are the American Horse Council Unwanted Horse Coalition, which is a coalition of membership organizations throughout the United States that are concerned and want to improve the condition of unwanted horses here in the United States. Another very active initiative is the Time to Ride campaign. Time to Ride campaign is an industry marketing initiative to introduce new American families to the experience of riding horses. So these are people that have an interest in horses but have not had an opportunity to be involved in the horse industry. As you can see on this slide, there are many organizations that include professional organizations, certainly breed and performance horse organizations, as well as industry corporate partners that are part of this alliance to expose more people to the opportunities of riding and the knowing more about the equestrian world. So one of the goals of it is to restore the image of the horse industry as we transition away from an agriculture-based society, and certainly let them know how important horse welfare is to the equine industry itself. Please note the Time to Ride website up here at the top of this slide. It's a great website to get more information on this very, very important initiative. U.S. horse population. The last census, again, done was in 2005, and that was done by the American Horse Council with a private agency doing the survey itself. At that time, there was 9.2 million horses in the United States. As before, we expressed the fact that most of these horses are used for recreational horses. Many of the horses are used for showing, a lesser number for racing, and certainly a large number of horses that we simply don't have a complete idea of what they are used for, but more than likely a combination of several of the above, including mostly recreation and showing. By breed, by far the largest breed industry and number of horses in the United States is the American Quarter Horse at 2.5 million. That is a 2014 number. Just for comparison, the 2010 number of American Quarter Horses is 3.1 million. So we can estimate that due to the significant recession in the United States, that during that period of time, in the worst of the recession, there was about a 20% decline in the number of horses. The thoroughbred industry has 1.29 million horses in the U.S., and then all other breeds and unregistered horses make up the rest of the population. By some estimates, and we don't know for sure, but by some estimates, we believe that the recession starting primarily in 2008 and hopefully ending in 2014, there was probably somewhere between a 20 and 30% reduction in the total number of horses here in the U.S. Let's look at horse registrations by year. And you can see from this chart the steep decline that occurred in registrations basically across the board. But if you look at the top number where most of the horses were in the American Quarter Horses, I think it's a good representation of what has occurred in the United States. Now, the interesting part of this graph that you should notice is that the decline in registrations, and later we'll talk about numbers, actually started before the recession, which indicates to us, because this is a supply and demand business, that we had an overpopulation of horses as early as 2004, and of course the decline was strengthened and certainly more profound as a result of the recession that occurred as well. The one other thing to note, at least on the quarter horse industry, is that from 2013 to 2014, we're starting to see an increase in breeding in the total number of horse registrations. The other important portion of any breed organization besides registering new foals or more horses in the industry is the commerce of selling horses. So horse transfer of ownership is a very good indicator of the economy of the horse industry by selling horses to other individuals. And as you can see, that decline sort of mirrors the number of registrations, except for here at the end, we're a little bit slower to recover from 2013 to 2014. Keep in mind, though, that those foals that were on the increase and born in 2014 are not of selling age yet. So we would expect to see an increase in the horse transfers in 2015. And as a matter of fact, the indicators of public horse auctions in 2015 would say to us that the horse economy is strong and people are starting to buy horses again, which will increase the demand for horses across the board. I wanted to just give you a little bit of an idea of other breed registrations. I don't have this current to 2014, but it's a perfect example of realizing that the decline in the numbers of horses in the horse industry, primarily due to recession or overproduction, was completely across the board in all segments of the horse industry and all breeds. Here's a slide that just shows the total number of registrations of all registered breeds in the United States. And you can see we were at pretty much an all-time high back in 2004 with 325,000 registrations of new horses. And in 2013, we were down to a number of about 140,000. However, between 2013 and 14, many of the registration organizations are reporting increases. And for example, in 2014, the American Quarter Horse Association registered approximately 84,000 horses in that time frame, and that would represent well over half of the total horses registered in the United States. I simply put this slide in to give you an idea that from the time that we kept these types of records in 1960, the horse industry has gone through several declines based upon supply and demand, and also based upon changes in tax structure for the horse industry and how they report their gains and losses. That did occur in the 90s, from 90 to 1995, and you can see we peaked again with a number of horses in 2000, and then from there on the decline shows what we've already talked about, down to the lowest numbers we've seen in several years. Membership trends, this is sort of a slide that is not easy to read, but what it does reflect that as the number of horses that are bred and the number of horses that are sold declines, so do the memberships of the organizations. And we can see likewise that the highest memberships were about in 2004, and you see about a steady 2 to 3% decline every year in memberships, as long as the number of horses are going down. And we expect and actually predict that the memberships of the organizations will start going up with more registries and transfers. I wanted to speak a bit about NAHMS Equine 2015. NAHMS, meaning National Animal Health Monitoring System, is an APHIS USDA program. NAHMS has the resources necessary to conduct national studies. The study itself is focused on livestock health and management. It's in partnership with the National Agriculture Statistics Service, or NASS. Studies are based on NASS sample selection of livestock operations. NAHMS develops a data collection instrument and personnel team to collect from operations identified, and NAHMS completes the objectives of the study. Objectives are developed based on needs assessment with the industry, state animal health officials, and other industry partners. I'll end with two quotes from both happen to be close friends of mine. One is from Dr. Nat White at Marion DuPont Equine Medical Center. NAHMS Equine 2015 will provide valuable information about disease prevalence and the impact that disease has on horse health. And then from Stephanie Church, who is editor-in-chief of the Horse magazine, which is a guide to equine healthcare. By participating in the NAHMS Equine 2015 study, you'll be providing valuable information on issues such as the prevalence of lameness and how you and others treat it, what preventive care practices you consider most important, and how you control internal parasites. I want to thank you all for participating in the NAHMS Equine 2015.